Hello again. In this video we're going to look at the Truthear Shio. It's another dongle deck. They do the anime, whatever it's called, girl thing, waifu, whatever it is, on the box. Thankfully it's a small box, very simple. I actually don't mind it at all, although I don't see the need for stuff like that tape. Just folds open, you get a little spec paper here. Not exactly an instruction manual, just, I don't know if you can read any of that, but it basically just shows you the specs, or the claimed specs. This uses two of the Cirrus CS43198s. It's a single-ended and balanced stack. Get this little card, which, I don't know. If that's your thing, great. They even tell you the information on her. However, I really would rather them save the 30-50 cents or whatever, and instead of using 5 or 10 cent capacitors, use 15-cent capacitors. I mean, I don't know, put it towards the product where it would actually matter, in my opinion, but I don't know. Whatever, what do I know? Got your little warranty card. I don't know how these companies actually handle warranties. I mean, normally I just do the Amazon thing after 30 days. If I don't get the return in, it's a loss, whatever. I think I paid $59 plus tax for this. It was on sale. Got it from Amazon. And see the box. All you get in the box is this and a USB-C to USB-C OTG cable. I don't have it here at the moment. Not sure why. Hold on. Alright. Here it is. This is what you get. It's a little stiff cable, very short. What I do find somewhat unique about this cable is it doesn't seem to matter what direction you plug it in. It'll still function on your phone. Your phone won't have any issues recognizing it. A lot of other OTG cables you actually have to put in a certain way. There's one side you want towards your phone, the other side towards the device you're going to be using. For some reason, this cable will work in either direction, and it even works with my other stuff like this FX Audio dongle deck here. Now, very bare bones. These two, both of them feel pretty darn cheap if you ask me. Like, very stiff wire here. It's a tight fit in the USB. I mean, I guess the strain relief seems okay. I don't know. Really haven't had much luck with these. It does seem like it might hold up better than this cable. Oh, maybe I'm wrong, because I might be wrong, because I have had bad luck with these. This cable, this twisted one, let me get rid of this. Alright, this twisted cable is actually from the, what is this, the HD5, the Sonata HD5. This is my third one of these. Two have failed on me. One has failed just falling asleep at night and leaving it on. Another has failed with this micro USB port right here. I have been trying to baby this one. But, alright, let's get back to the Shio for the moment. Alright, might as well pull these up. I do have some stuff I will be comparing it to. For instance, got the 7 Hertz, the Sonata HD5, the FX Audio IL1. This is a YNYW. It's one just kind of OEM type brand. This uses a ES9280 Pro. This has MQA, this has MQA. This uses the AK4377. This does not do MQA. This does not do MQA. I also have the Apple dongle that everybody has. And this is a WKWZY little basic dongle deck. This is using the the claim to be Realtek ALC 5868 or 5686, whatever the hell it is, but it's the ALC 5 number 1. There's only one out there, so that'd be easy to find out. Anyway, back to this. This uses 2 of the Cirrus Logic CS 43198s. Claims to do, has high gain, low gain, single ended, it maxes at 2 volts. Balanced, it maxes at 4 volts. It claims to have 130 dB of dynamic range, 150 milliwatts of output power at 32 ohms, 55 milliwatts output power at 300 ohms, 0.0002% THD, which I don't know, you don't know the conditions in which that was measured, or at least I don't. There is graphs at places, but they're provided, as far as I know, by Truthear, so will it test the same when you do it independently? I don't know. But basically what you get is this very lightweight, chunky dongle deck. To the touch, it feels very cheap. Like, this feels nice and quality, solid. The weight isn't too different, but this, I know it says this is metal here, and it probably is, but this just feels like mixed between plastic and rubber, and they even claim seamless. I'm not sure if you can make that out. What would be a better angle? No, it's right there. You should be able to clearly see it. I don't know if you can though. See that big lip right there? Like, it's somewhat seamless here, but you can, it's like overlapping here. I mean, $60, $70 dongle deck, and with very cheap components like the rest of them, and I don't know, that kind of annoys me. Like, that will absolutely catch on something. This will absolutely come unwrapped at some point. The buttons are actually nice and clicky. I like them. I really don't have any complaints. However, I do notice in a lot of the video reviews I've seen, people are complaining about the power, which they're not wrong, but they're also, they're having trouble switching between high gain and low gain. It's very, very easy. You see red there, you're in low gain. Click both up and down at the same time, you'll go to high gain. Very simple. And the color will change to yellow in high gain. The color will change again if you're using something like DSD, but I think it's like purple in low gain with DSD, and blue high. I could have it reversed, so don't take my word for it. There is actual documentation for that. So if you read the instructions, well, if you read the paperwork, or if you plan on updating this, it'll give you a text file or a JPEG showing you what colors do what, and how to switch game modes. Now, as far as power output, I don't know. I'm not impressed. I'm mainly going to judge this off a single-ended, because I don't know. At home, these things are mainly if I want to go somewhere, and I'm not too concerned about having the absolute best of the best while I'm out busy doing something. I'm more content with having an enjoyable experience. I don't need this crazy analytical thing while I'm just out and about, maybe out on a run or a hike or something. It's not my focus at the moment. I just want to get lost in it, enjoy it, but I don't need all the crazy extra power, and it's just not necessary at the time. And I don't know, this doesn't separate itself enough from any of these to justify it for me, and to justify the use of the balance. And at home, okay, you do get a little bit more power, but I have other things I can run balanced at home, and I can be just as comfortable, sit in the same spots. Like, so and to be completely fair, this balanced isn't, I don't know, I'm not, like, I see some reviewers, and they, like, mostly it's the written reviews I'm seeing online that kind of match my experience, but I'm seeing this get a lot of praise. And more often than not, I don't tend to disagree, but in this case, I don't know. I just feel this is being given more credit than it deserves. Like, for instance, compared to just these two right here, this one's $35. And in low gain mode, the power isn't even comparable. This is by far the weakest thing here. Like, low gain, let me just do this power wise. Okay, so we'll do this. This is ranked in power. This, I don't know, that might even be more, this one here might be more powerful, especially when you're down at 16 ohm. Although, when you start getting down to 16 ohm, this one kind of loses a little bit of power and gets closer to this. At 32 ohm, this gets closer to that, maybe probably on par with that, to be fair. And matter of fact, on par, basically right up with all of them at 32 ohm. 16 ohm, though, it's kind of separated like this. Under all conditions, I have yet to find this match this, and according to the numbers, all right, let me back up for a second. Still single-ended. I throw this in high gain, and all it does is get a little closer. There might be I think there's like a 4 or 5 dB boost between low gain and high gain, but it's still not enough. Like 16 ohm, it almost gets a level with this, but at 32 ohm, it's still not even able to get past this. So it can't get there. This, no matter what, 16 ohm, driving something 16 ohm, 32 ohm, it's still more power. Now, when you start running this balanced, you start getting closer to here. Like, you get, the power gets much closer to this. Still, even though in balance, this is supposed to have a higher output than this. This is like 95 milliwatts at 32 ohms. It's supposed to be like 100 and, I don't know, 115, 120, something like that at 16 ohm. Might be 135, 125 at 16 ohm. But regardless, even in balance, this doesn't really compete with this. And this is showing 4 volt peak voltage. And that'll lead me into the dynamics, the sound characteristics of what I want to talk about. Now, the Apple dongle, $9. You really can't beat it. It's nice and clean. You don't have to worry about background hiss. And you just get a pleasant, clean experience. Move on to this one, and you get a warmer experience, more power, more body. And this is compatible with more devices, whereas this, you can't even get the full volume output unless you're using certain phones with either the Hibby player or the that, what is it, the USB audio player, one of those two. And like, again, some phones, even if you have those, you can't get the full power out of this. It won't recognize hardware volume with this. So this is kind of a hit and miss on some phones, whether or not you're able to tap into the full potential. This will work on everything. This one with the 9280, this one, I haven't had any problems with anything recognizing it outside of an older phone. What was it? The Samsung Galaxy S8 Plus. For some reason, that won't recognize this. My Samsung Galaxy S9 will recognize it. My 23 Ultra will recognize it. My OnePlus 9 will recognize it. Pretty much everything I've tried it will recognize this. Forgive me for my heavy breathing as well. I'm a little under the weather today. This one, I've never had anything not recognize it. This thing, I think I paid, what was it, $25 for this? Maybe 30 tops, but I think 25. I paid 20 for this. Alright. Disclaimer for this one, even though, because you can find this right now for, I think, $16, $17. So I want to put out a disclaimer. Even though this can sound nice, can have more power and more cases than this does. This is number 4. This is number 5. I've had 4 faulty ones. The only reason why I kept doing the return was because the MSRP was $37.99 and it was marked down nearly half price. And I liked the way it sounds. This of all these up here, this sounds closest to this as far as audio quality and the way it presents the music. This has 2 ES9219s in it, whereas this uses the ES9280. The 80 is older, but they share a lot of characteristics. This is just a little smoother and more natural sounding and more effortless, whereas this is more closer to the ES sound you recognize. Same with this. This is a ES9018Q2M, I think, or Q2C. One of the two. This is, as far as like sound quality wise, this sits in the middle. This is the Truthear Shio. Completely different sound than all of these. Like, it's warm. This might have the most change to the audio that I've heard out of any of these. Like this one, very clean, smooth, detailed, separated. The 7 hertz. This is a nice, warm, relaxed sound, but still pleasing, detailed, that you still have everything kind of taking equal stage. This, in some cases, is the warmest of the bunch. Vocals are definitely the warmest of all of these, but the vocals almost take a step back. It's very odd. Like, kind of threw me off a little bit. Like, it gets a little closer to normal when you're running balanced and you put it in high gain. But I don't know. There's something about it. It's this, of all of these, this is the one that is coloring the music, in my opinion. Let's see if you can see that. It does have the embossing on that fake leather rubber stuff. Might as well show that. You can see the balance in it. And just a big old chunky back with the USB-C port. At some point I would like to take this apart, because you got the one screw here and another screw here, and I do believe if you just unscrew those, you can just separate the halves. I don't know. Like, the buttons, it's nice having the buttons. However, if you don't do the firmware, it's volume synced with your phone. So what'll happen is especially if you're using something like UAP, the USB audio player, or Hibi. If you hit down on this, it'll also adjust the volume on your phone. But a lot of those will say, okay, when you're adjusting the volume using hardware volume, will say like minus 16 dB, minus 8 dB. When your volume synced and it's showing minus 8 dB, you're really at volume level minus 16 dB, because when volume sync means it's syncing the volume between both devices. So this will be down 8 dB, that'll be down 8 dB, and they obviously combine. So you're kind of down 16 dB. Now, if you do the firmware update, you can either max the phone out, or you can max this out, or you can, I don't know, if you're worried about peaks, what I've even tried doing about 80% on the phone and doing this. I don't notice I'm getting any extra headroom, any extra volume now that I enabled the hardware volume on this, because I can, what is it, 60 steps. I can max the volume on my phone and max this on the stuff like my Diogo. Like, if you're only using single-ended, you're going to nearly max this for any planar IAM you have. You're going to be close to max for almost any IAM you have, period. Like, I don't know. This is not high power, at least in comparison. Its sound stage is smaller than 7 hertz, maybe about equal to this, but it's not as layered, not as deep. I don't know, I'm just not, I want to go explaining what it's a DAC. It does add a coloration to it. Like, even this has a slight coloration, this has a slight coloration, but it's almost like it took warmth. It just did warmth in a weird way. I'm at a loss for words, to be honest. It's just not something I'm truly a fan of. I don't know. I do want to play with it. Maybe I'll find some IMs that really fit well with it, but I've tried nearly a dozen different IMs, and I'm kind of, this doesn't give me, like, I don't use this and think, oh, ooh, this sounds better with this song, or this sounds better here over any of these. I'm glad I bought this. I'm going to use this in a certain case, or with a certain IM. So far, every IM I tried sounds better. Yeah, basically, sometimes this, but it's mainly these two. The 7 hertz and the Sonata HD5 that I found myself going back to. Like, the way this sounds balanced, the separation you get, the increased depth and width, this already has. Like, this sounds like this does when this is balanced. So instead of buying cables or using the chunky 4.4, I just could throw my the stock cable right in here, and I'm basically getting the same experience, except cleaner and balanced. I don't know, I still think this is more powerful, at least with lower impedance gear, 1632 ohm stuff, than this is. I know the numbers say otherwise, but I in my experience, in my use, I'm not hearing it. Like, I can be with this one, was it minus 26 dB with most stuff, and I'm out. It's not excessively loud, but it's loud enough for me to really get into something and enjoy, whereas the single-ended, I have to be at minus 4 dB to match this at like minus 26 dB. Balanced, I really feel I'm getting up to like minus 10, minus 12 dB. maybe minus 14, but I really think it's closer to minus 12 dB part to match this at like minus 26, 24. It's weird. What else can I go over? That's basically it for the most part, I think. There was something else I wanted to touch on. Oh, bass. I mean, vocals on this, this does have good detail, don't get me wrong, but it's not better detail than this. It might be a little more than the 7 hertz, but this 7 hertz is $35 to start with. You're just using single ended, you're already going to have a better experience with this than this, just for pure separation, soundstage, depth. And I think this does the warmth better than this. It's just a more natural sounding warmth. This is more relaxing. This has almost that AK signature, whereas this really reminds me of the old, cheaper like, there was a Sound Blaster X. I don't know if it was a G5, something similar to that, but it, just like most of the motherboard computer type stuff, it uses the Cirrus Logic chips, and they all just had this, I don't want to say lo-fi, but it's kind of just it's a warmth and kind of detailed, kind of takes a back seat. This sounds a lot like that Sound Blaster G5, whatever it was. Just remember, it was just this tiny little black thing, had a knob on the front, and plug it into your computer. You could even, at the time, you could even plug it into your phone and run it powered. I did like it for that. This was long before any dongle decks and stuff was a thing. But so I did used to enjoy that. That was kind of fun. And it was okay, but this sounds much like that, except with nowhere near the power. But as far as, anyway, okay, yeah, back to the bass. The bass actually has a very good punchiness. Like, if there is one area where I would say this excels at, it would be the bass. It's almost like it reserves that 2-volt peak for higher impedances. And I wish one day somebody would measure an IEM and actually measure the impedance change as the frequency changes. Like, if you look at a pair of headphones, there's measurements like that out there, and you'll see as the frequency gets lower and then the speaker starts doing bass. Matter of fact, same with subwoofers. You can actually see, there's plenty of stuff on YouTube where you can see the impedance rise into hundreds of ohms, even though it was an 8 ohm speaker when bass hits. So I'm curious with IEMs what type of impedance swing happens as the frequency gets lower. So does a 16 ohm driver go all the way up to like a 50, 60 ohm driver when something in the 50 hertz or below range is playing? Like, is it that severe with IEMs? Because that's the only thing I can think of that would cause this to have the nice punch and power it has in the bass, but also be lacking in volume. Because this does actually do pretty well with higher impedance gear. It's like, once you get outside of the 32 to 64 window, or the 16 to 64 window, this, especially in balance, mind you, this starts pulling away from all this stuff. You kind of got to start getting really high up there, though. This still, I don't know. If not for that micro USB on this is still my favorite dongle. But it does bass better. Like, this almost, it's hard to explain. Okay, maybe I can draw a quick picture, maybe? Let's see, okay. How can we do this? I just turned a video I wanted to be 15 minutes into another 30-minute long video, but... Alright, let's see here. what we're going to do. Alright, so how can we do this? So let's say this is 20 hertz. And this is 20 kilohertz. Alright. And so down at 20 hertz, let's say we got a 32 ohm driver. And we'll do the 32 ohm driver right there. And it'll probably be, let's say, 1 kilohertz or whatever, where we're measuring 32 ohms. Now we start getting frequency in the base, and that starts to shoot up. So it happens in every dynamic driver scene. It doesn't necessarily happen in planners, but every dynamic driver is what happens. So it's the only thing is with IMs, I don't know how high. So let's just say, for the sake of it, that's 64. Yeah, we'll do a different color. Okay, so that'll be 64. That's the ugliest 64, but you get my point. That's 64. Now, some of these you just won't be able to put up the higher voltage. Like this might actually start putting out 2 volts before these. You might not be able to sustain it, but it might be able to put out 2 volts for the peaks and single-winded for imbalance quicker than these can. Like, even though vocals seems a little more pulled back and stuff, and compared to this, bass seems almost on par in this as this. Maybe even a little fuller, which leads me to believe this. The one positive about this Truthear Shio is it's able to handle that impedance rise better than this other stuff up here. But for the overall frequency, it can't sustain that output and just keep the volume as high and still keep that, what's the word, dynamics, whatever it is. It still can't keep being dynamic, so they kind of limit the volume on it. I don't know. This is all just crap spewing out of my mouth at the moment. I honestly have no clue. However, that's my thoughts on the Truthear Shio. I don't know. Maybe you'll like it, but personally, I just stay single-ended. Get one of these. I can't comment on the durability of the Shio. It just seems unnecessarily big for what this does not get warm. This SOB will get very warm. And if you fall asleep when this is on, it'll get so warm it'll cook itself and fry itself and never work again. So this this is not I'm gonna plug it into my PC and use it as a main audio output. This thing will kill itself. It is suicidal. However, just pure quality, smoothness, clarity, soundstage, separation, everything. Well, okay, let me take that back. This kind of beats it in soundstage. This is the king of the hill of what I have in this little screen here. Even with this, even in balance, number 2, I'd still pick this. It's supposed to be single-ended, supposed to have half the output power, less than half the output power than the Shio does balanced. Yet I get very close to this with this. Even when this is balanced, very close. This does start becoming louder. This definitely has a tighter, punchier bass. But to be fair, in order to be, like I said before, in order to match this, you kind of got to go balanced. I don't like going balanced if I don't have to, unless I'm at home. Stuff like this, they need to focus on fixing the crosstalk issues and stop with all this balance nonsense, in my opinion. This is portable, take out with you stuff. Desktop DACs can get incredibly good crosstalk channel separation, even in single-ended. I mean, it only improves more balance, but you don't need to be balanced to get very good. I haven't seen any dongle DACs that even approach what desktop DACs or desktop amps and DACs, even the combos, are doing as far as the channel imbalance and crosstalk. I've seen these in good ones, 60, 70 range, where I'm seeing desktop stuff from, I have desktop stuff from 4 years ago that's way above that, 50% above that in some cases. So they're using balance almost as a way to be a shortcut to clean up that sound. I don't know. You can keep using cheap components, separate everything, and get improve things. Or how about they don't pay for the 4.4, don't pay for double of the stuff in there. How about just buy half the stuff, but maybe buy double the quality of the half the components that you're going to end up putting in there. I don't know. I would like to see them focused on that, because it's almost like that's what they did with this. They even used the two ES19Cs in there. They did use two. They almost ran it like balanced, but output as single, and this sounds so much better. Like, especially with separation, like there's a clarity to this that none of these match. None of them. Even this one, when it's imbalanced, doesn't match that clarity. So Arch approach it. And power gets the bass. Again, arguing. I'm repeating myself. Hopefully by now you guys get the point, though. Yeah, that's it. All right. Thank you guys for watching. I appreciate it. Hopefully I didn't kill too much of your time. Obviously, this is just another one of my rambles. Sometimes the hype is real, sometimes it's not. Thank God Amazon lets you return. I don't know. I suggest you order one, try it for yourself. Maybe you will like it, but if you don't, return it. This thing here, though, especially if you're just looking for a basic starter thing, you want one thing. This thing has proven to be a workhorse for me. All right. Again, thank you for watching. Leave a thumbs up. Ask any questions you like. Thank you for watching.